Welcome, everybody, to the Raad Life, the only talk radio show that takes you along with host and age explorer Rod Gantos on his continuing journey of discovery into life's challenges, opportunities, options, and all the latest and greatest things that come with getting older. The Raad Life is brought to you this week by Your Home for a Lifetime, a company dedicated to empowering you to stay safely, independently, and comfortably in your own home. And now here is your host, Rod Gantos.
Good afternoon, everybody. First and foremost, sorry for my voice. It's a little crackly today, but I'm dealing with a little bit of cold. So
everybody is. I've been dealing with it for weeks. Yeah.
Please be healthy this winter. Which staying healthy seems to be a good, appropriate time for us to have this topic that we're discussing today too. I don't know if you guys are aware, and if you're not aware, where have you been hiding? Under what rock have you been hiding? But November.
I've been watching the impeachment.
You've been watching the impeachment?
That's the rock I've been under.
Well, we're about to impeach you. Sort of. Yeah, no, it's those are pretty thrilling days recently on that one. Anyway, I don't want to get dragged down the political. I was going to say a-hole, but there's a bunch of them that have been on TV lately. But listen, November, for those who have been paying attention the last couple of years, has become very synonymous with the word Movember, which is where men showing support for and wanting to raise awareness for prostate cancer all over the world. Started off very small, and I've been kind of watching it grow, and it's now global. They grow their facial hair, which, for some of us, we don't understand why you need a month to do that. You're probably doing it all year round. But they grow their facial hair so that they can then shave it at the end of the month in support for those who are suffering from prostate cancer and to raise awareness for prostate cancer. Now, just very quickly, in the United States, according to CDC, prostate cancer is the largest form of cancer other than non-melanoma skin cancer. So it is the largest reason or cancer-caused death in men is prostate cancer. It's not a small thing. And I was having a conversation just a little bit earlier before the show, and I was talking to a lady and just from a nonprofit that raises awareness for another ailment that's more age-related. But we were just talking about how certain causes just have a lot of awareness, language, a lot of content that is shared throughout the course of a year. We as a population, as a society, have probably a very strong understanding and awareness of breast cancer, for example. In California, you would argue that also we have a strong awareness of skin cancer because of the fact that we have so many beautiful days and you need to kind of protect yourself in the sun. A lot of awareness in the last few years and a lot of groups that have been formed to raise awareness and empower women that are women groups that have basically have taken on everything from child cancer to, again, breast cancer and the support that goes into that. When it comes to men, maybe by the nature of our gender, we just don't talk about stuff. And prostate cancer, fortunately, has gotten some traction and has gotten more and more awareness, language being discussed about it and so forth. But again, I think there's a little bit of, lack of comfort for guys to basically talk about stuff that's private like that, especially when it comes to something like the prostate. And so what do I decide to do?
Bring it out into the open.
Well, I figured since we have a phobia, a Puritan approach to not wanting to discuss things that are private, what better way to talk about and raise awareness for Movember than to literally just take it to the next level? So, sitting with Tiffany, who is in studio with us again. Tiffany's been on the show before. I think earlier this year, was it? Or was it last year? Earlier this year. Tiffany was on, and we were sitting down, we were having a couple drinks at the Center Club down the street, and we were talking about, and I said, you know what, we got to do something for Movember. And then next thing you know, we were talking about the connection between sex, or lack of it, and prostate cancer.
What?
And I already, for those who know Paul, in full disclosure, I already warned him when I walked into the studio.
What?
That this is going to be one of those topics that's going to basically really tax his Midwestern recovering Catholic
Irish Catholic guilt here.
Right? And I will just start with this, because when we start talking about this, and for those who know me, know that I'm involved in like the spa industry and wellness industry. I've been involved since '98 in that. And so, again, there's been a lot of awareness in the industry relevant to female support groups, women empowerment, breast cancer, child cancer, but not a lot of conversation even within that industry about prostate cancer. And so it is something that we really should talk about. Well, hold on. So I think I was on my second drink at the time.
Yeah, that's the key.
I was on my second drink at the time, and I somehow, because, my mind is very nonlinear, okay, I can make the connection between, I said to Tiffany, I said, well, okay, now the prostate is a gland. So glands basically have buildup, which is basically what we're talking about here. It's bad stuff that builds up in your gland.
You're not going where I think you're going.
Oh, yes, I am. Okay, and Paul's actually just got really tight in his chair, okay? So basically I said, okay, so if I just follow the rational logic of relief through massage, okay, and when you have a knot in your shoulder, or you have what they call lymphatic massage, where it's draining stuff out of your lymph nodes, and you really feel it, and it's sort of a preventive medicine component. When it comes to the prostate gland, why wouldn't you basically drain the prostate gland? And we then realize that, in fact, at some point in the history of humanity, people used to drain the prostate gland by something called a prostate massage, which you went to a medical practitioner, and as part of your examination and health review, you got a prostate massage.
And later on, they called them not prostate massages, but prostitutes.
Well, that may be in the recovering Catholic world of Paul Roberts, but
maybe that's where the term
but
came from.
In all seriousness, okay, let's just keep the sort of the what would you call it, the puritanic approach to sex or anything that touches my body in areas that may be private. Okay,
I'm from the Midwest. I have to giggle.
All right, Mr. Midwest. So do you have an issue with, for example, your wife going to get a mammogram, which is referred to as squeeze the tatas or something like that, like the annual squeeze the tata, right? It's basically putting the breast of a woman in a vice.
Right.
Okay? I cannot imagine in any shape or form, under whatever mood music that may be playing through the speaker system or warmth in the room, that is actually
comfortable,
a non-invasive, thing. But yet we as a society accept the fact that that's normal for it to happen on a yearly basis. But heaven forbid that a guy should go into a physician or a medical practitioner and actually
put my balls in a vice?
Deal with. Okay, well, we're not even going there, right? Okay, but deal with the number one reason for male death from cancer.
Yeah.
Okay,
right.
And actually, heaven forbid, get the prostate gland drained through a massage, because that is just going too far.
We had,
and yet it used to happen.
It used to happen.
And now we have
very regular.
Very regularly. And I'm like, well, why don't we do this?
Never heard of that. In all seriousness, we had a.
You just blocked it.
We had in all seriousness, we had a. This is timely because a couple of weeks ago we had somebody in here on our OC Spotlight show, talking about something I'd never heard of, a technology they were promoting. A doctor here, high intensity focused ultrasound to break up prostate cancer rather than an invasive way to do it. And he's created a machine, and they're selling it, and they've got all this stuff. And I said, I have real trouble even discussing this with you because we're going to use words like penis and other things and make everybody giggle. But I said, you have identified a problem that most men my age just don't want to face or deal with, which is the potential. We're scared to death of it, just like women are scared about breast cancer.
How often are you regular with your colonoscopy?
No, I haven't had one in 20 years. Don't want to know. If I go,
wait, hold on, okay? Because this is serious, right?
Serious stuff.
Okay.
No,
how old are you?
I'll be 64 in January.
Okay, when was the last time you had a colonoscopy?
Can't tell you.
Have you ever had a colonoscopy?
Maybe.
Well, you would know if you had a colonoscopy because you have to prepare for it, and you basically have to like literally diet for a few days, and basically you have to have a liquid, and they basically literally go in and check to make sure that you don't have any issues with that part of your
I
system.
doubt it. I've had PSA tests and other sorts of things like that.
But you have never had a colonoscopy.
I don't believe so.
Okay, so perfect example of what we're talking about and why we're talking about this topic today.
No, it's horrible.
Here's a gentleman who basically sits in this room and is bombarded with all kinds of information on a daily basis. And this is yet again one more thing that Paul Roberts does not take to heart, and basically for his own well-being and his health.
Because I can't think about it. I don't want to think about it. It's such a delicate subject. It's such a subject most men don't want to deal with. That and I applaud that people are talking about it more, and it's coming out, and there's Movember, and there's things to highlight it. But we have not had the same awareness as a group of old guys like women have come to accept they need to check this regularly.
But even when you were told about something that could be not completely non-invasive and basically would be bombarding to try to break up the buildup, excuse me, in the prostate gland, you were still uncomfortable with it when the doctor was talking to you about it.
I think it's a topic that needs to be aired, and I applaud you for doing it. But I'm the once again the poster child for what's wrong with the problem here. We're men, we're tough, we don't want to think about it, we don't want to talk about it, and partly it's because we're tough and everything, and partly because we're little kids and we don't want to know. We're scared. And somehow if I don't know, then it doesn't exist.
Well, Tiffany, while I cough my lungs out over here.
I
apologize.
I don't go to the doctor because one, I'm not sure I believe the doctor or trust the doctors anymore, and two, I don't go to the doctor because I don't want to know.
Well, so I'm going to pass the mic on to Tiffany here. Let's talk about this because, yes, I know we're being cute about the connection between sex and libido and prostate cancer, but there's genuinely a serious topic to be had here, and on a health and mindset and like a depression, because there's a whole connectivity side to this, right?
Right.
If that part of my physical nature is not healthy, it is having also ramifications and impacts on other parts of my life. So why don't you take a minute and tell people about you, what you do, and then let's really tackle this topic. And I know we have somebody that we're going to be calling in here after the break to bring on as well to add their knowledge base to this, but let's talk about this. Let's address it. I mean, I think it is a very serious problem when the CDC says this is the #1 reason for cancer deaths in the male population in the United States. Take it away.
So, I'm Tiffany Yelverton, and I'm the founder of Entice Me and Sexy Survivors, and I work with individuals and couples to have great sex and improved sexual health and insane sexual confidence because of the way that it affects all areas of our lives. And Movember really is all about getting men to realize all health checks. So everyone over 50 is supposed to have a annual colonoscopy. But it's also, it started out as prostate.
I'm sorry, I don't think it's annual. I think it's every 4 years or whatever. But yes, it becomes a part of
your life after 50. Just like a mammogram for women over 40 is a new part of life. But so Movember did start with being for prostate awareness, but now it's about testicular cancer awareness and mental health. And just
depression, all that stuff is
reminding men to get checked for everything, because men tend to not go to the doctor as much as women, even, blood pressure and everything, just to,
it's true.
It's easier to ignore it or to, not be, forget that it could happen.
You're talking about me.
I am talking about people like you.
No,
your demographic.
I'm it. Yeah.
No, Paul, I'll own up to it too. I mean, not necessarily to the degree that you are, which is really scary and against you. It's against your best interest. But even in my case, I was told a couple of years ago. I do the annual checkups. I was told a couple of years ago that I might have to go on cholesterol medication, and I tried to fight it and basically tried to handle it with diet. But there's a family history, and so this year I finally basically said fine. Now I'm on a very low dose, and although my doctor is going to kill me for admitting this, because I basically bite the pill in half rather than the whole thing, and I still have some sort of wild idea that I'm going to try to manage this thing with diet. But yeah, you have to be conscious, and you're right. I was not aware until I started to do some research for the show today that what started off as being a prostate cancer focused thing has now become a men health awareness month. And it's not by accident that I'm wearing blue, because the color actually now associated with Movember is a blue color. So men show support by doing something cool, like growing their hair, their facial hair. I think it's just a way for them to get away with it if they work in a corporate environment. Basically, say, hey, I don't want to shave for about a month. But then it is whatever you do to raise awareness is always a good thing. So we're trying to do that here today.
Yes, it's really important. And
so why are so many men like me putting it off, not want to know? I think it's a combination of little boy in us that somehow thinks if I don't go get it checked, there's no problem, and then the big tough guy in us that says I can handle it myself. I can bite the pill in half. I can deal with this myself.
Yeah, it's only 1 hour show. I don't know we're going to fix the reasons why men basically don't ask for direction or
ask for directions, right? Yeah.
So, but go ahead.
I think it is that if I just ignore it, there's not a problem, and if I don't know about it, then there's nothing wrong.
You know what's interesting about that, Tiffany? Just as I think it's just a reflection on human behavior. I think we tend to do that when we actually, deep down inside, realize that it could be seriously very bad. Like, we don't ignore it and bury our head in the sand on small things. We tend to bury our head in the sand and ignore it when we really, deep down inside, know that this could be really a serious thing.
Right.
So anyway,
I agree.
You agree that, Paul?
I think I think it's a combination of little boy and big grown-up man.
Bringing back the conversation to what we're talking about here, I think, again, it's awesome that we now have a month that we can basically raise awareness on things that are health-related when it comes to men, and that it's not limited to your physical well-being, but also your mindset and your and mental health, which again is is a silent epidemic. I mean, depression, we all go through stuff that challenges us in life. Some of you who've been listening to the show know that I've said before in July, when I discussed some of the issues and challenges that I've been dealing with my parents as they get older, and you're trying to run a business, you're trying to maintain your relationships, you have this now that has become your new normal, and it is understandable that it would feel overwhelming, that it may put you in a mindset where you're feeling depressed, overwhelmed. There are days where you just want to shut down and you want to bury your head in the sand. But so you seek help. That is the first step. And basically you seek it from people that could give you some assistance. And, there is the sort of very medical approach to things, and there's the one that's a little bit more holistic, which is what we're trying to talk about here today.
So let's bring it around to what your topic is. We understand this is a month to be aware of men's health, and we understand that men, by definition, don't pay as much attention to their health.
Do you even know? I mean, this is be a good transition, but do you even know where your prostate is?
I'm not
even asking you about a G-spot, but do you know where your P-spot is?
I probably don't.
Okay. So
I know it. Generally, it's not in my head.
It's somewhere else other than in your head?
Not in my feet.
Okay, yeah. You're
not in my stomach.
I don't want to call you a lost cause, but you're very close. So Tiffany, why don't you take a minute? Let's just describe what we're talking about.
Okay. So the prostate is a gland. It is accessed anally in men. It is exactly the same tissue as the G-spot in women.
Right.
In utero, that tissue divides and turns female or male. So it is accessed by putting a finger in the rectum, curling towards the belly button. It's about 3 inches in. It's going to be the size of about a walnut or a small plum. And the prostate gland surrounds the ureter tube in the body. So usually when that buildup of benign fluid builds up around the ureter tube, men usually start to maybe have problems urinating or having some pressure, and that's when they tend to go get it checked.
So physically there is a connection between the penis and the prostate.
Yes.
Okay.
So the
And what does the prostate do?
So it has prostatic fluid that mixes with it goes through the ureter tube, mixes with semen in the testicles, and then that is ejaculation.
Which is why sometimes there's erectile dysfunction
Yes.
that happens as a result of this, and possibly, problems with or difficulties with ejaculation.
So I'm going to sound stupid again. So walk me through this. So because I obviously every man knows where his testicles are, but this is not connected to your test. It's connected to it, but it's not part of it. And it provides a fluid that helps the semen come out. Is that what it does?
Yes, it's the fluid that
lubricant
mixes with sperm, and then it becomes seminal fluid.
Right.
And it is, back closer to your bladder.
Mm-hmm.
It's inside. If you know where your taint is, where it's called the perineum, between the balls and the anal opening,
Right.
that little smooth meadow part of skin. If you push straight
I
up,
didn't know that had a name to it.
Yeah,
but
the part that your mom always told you to make sure you cleaned.
Okay.
so when you push straight up there, you can also access the prostate externally.
Right.
And it's what how big of this gland?
It's about a walnut with a shell on it.
And when it gets cancerous or blocked or whatever, blocked I guess can be for a lot of other reasons other than cancerous growth, then it presses on the bladder and it makes you pee more often?
It can press on the bladder, but really it surrounds the ureter tube, which your urine is going to flow through from the bladder.
Obstruct it.
And it obstructs that.
Yeah. Because I think every man knows that now, that's a sign if you're having trouble urinating, that may be caused by an enlarged
Well, it could be a
prostate.
number of reasons. But yes, I mean,
that's the reason you're supposed to pay attention to. If you're having trouble, if you're urinating a lot, or you can't urinate. I don't know why one or the other. It seems like you can't urinate or you can't stop urinating.
Right.
But either way, it could be an indication that there's a problem with your prostate. And why is the prostate so susceptible to cancer as opposed to, there is testicular cancer?
Well, it's the buildup.
It's the buildup of the fluid in there, and then when it's not released on a regular basis, then it can turn into, that stagnant fluid that can turn cancerous.
I mean, I'm simplifying this, but think about.
I'm not a medical doctor, but that's pretty much what happens.
But I mean, simplifying it, just simply like if you think about the human body as a car, as a system that basically has a fluid-based system.
Right.
We talk about hydration and the importance of water for skin care and healthiness of all these things. If the fluids stop or they sit and they congeal and they harden and all this stuff, which happens easily if you think about it in an automotive manner, just to make it men friendly here, right? That stuff basically then just sits there. It clogs the system. It potentially, if it actually then the system is attempted to be run harder, whatever, you're putting pressure on that. It could affect the areas around it. So again, having something that is flowing, and think about a lymph gland. Think about your sweat glands. Like people that basically have breast cancer and they basically have their glands removed. They then basically are facing situations where there's sweat or they being in a hot area or swelling that happens. The body is a system that is made of multiple components that all have to work in a sort of an efficient manner in order.
So you're
for
talking around
health.
this. I'm trying to see if I can get to the chase here. So you're saying that because people obviously, the assumption is, or I don't know if this is proven or not, but as you get older, you have less sex for a variety of reasons. Your sexual
It's the
desire,
chicken or the egg.
your sexual desire wanes, your body changes, you don't feel good about how you look or whatever, all the issues that impact, and you just get older and the drive diminishes. So as that sex drive diminishes, you don't have sex as often, therefore you don't drain this?
I don't think that's the case, Tiffany. Is it?
Well, not necessarily.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely men's testosterone drops as well as women's. So you might have not quite as much sex, but really you can still masturbate.
Yeah.
I know, also not a Catholic thing,
I-
but it's really not anywhere in the Bible that says you can't do it. It's a doctrine that was taught, but it's very healthy. You can masturbate. You can masturbate with toys. You can masturbate with your hand, but it is proven that 21 or more ejaculations a month does significantly decrease prostate cancer.
Well, and let me just say this, Paul, for you to answer your question. I don't know that it's the lack of what you're defining as, call it sex, right?
Yeah, well,
Because Tiffany, like she just said, like, self satisfaction will also cause you to be able to drain that. But I think there's also not confirmed, but there is a discussion about your health and your exercise and your regimen of eating and what you eat as a dietary choices and exercise that could also add to the possibility. Like what you are actually ingesting into your system becomes part of your fluid system. The system, your body is processing it. So there are like people that are basically have a higher propensity or there's a family history maybe of prostate cancer. They are encouraged to pursue a diet that is a little bit less meat, more vegetables, that to try to exercise almost on a daily basis.
Is that because it'll block it, or is that because of the possibility of cancer?
Well, it's like a car that's just sitting on blocks that's not being moved, right?
No, I get that, but
Yeah.
the diet, how would the diet change your
what
prostate?
your body is processing gets into your bloodstream, gets into your lymphatic system. It all basically ends up flowing through the same.
And the
system.
assumption is that red meat is what? It's harder to digest, or
Yes.
it's more carcinogenic.
Harder to digest is, I think, the primary. But the idea is that there is what I'm trying to basically make a point here is that there is a connectivity in how you deal and how you address your body and
Well,
what you
clearly,
put in it.
we've all begun to understand what my parents never did, that there was a connection between what you eat and how you feel. They ate what felt good, what they liked, what they were used to, and they ate tons of red meat. And the Irish diet of meat and potatoes was not the healthiest diet, and that's what I grew up with. And we've all learned to modify that and change that particular here.
And I mean, our food has so much more chemicals in it,
Right.
and
No question about
everything
that.
we put on our body has more
hormones.
Hormones and chemicals,
Right.
which I think is even more important than
People would be shocked if they knew how many growth hormones are injected into pigs and cows and other
yeah.
things to make them grow, and then that stays with them, and you ingest that.
The only reason I'm just actually kind of like taking a minute to talk about what you were proposing, Paul, is that you're making it sound like by having lack of sex, have a higher propensity to basically have cancer. That could be the case, but it also, what I'm trying to also emphasize is that if you do not have a healthy prostate, it could also have a very negative impact on your sex drive and your ability to have sex.
It's
Yeah.
the chicken
So
and
that's
the
what
egg.
I'm saying
comes
about the
first,
chicken and
right?
the egg. You're saying if I have prostate issues, then I won't have sex. No, I'm sorry. You're saying that because I'm not having sex, I'm going to have prostate issues. You may have a buildup that you're not releasing, but I also am saying that it's known that if you have an issue with your prostate, it will have a negative impact on
So
you.
let's start, since this is ostensibly a show about aging, that's where it starts, the point. We're all on this aging journey.
Not necessarily an aging issue, I don't think.
Oh,
Well, what I was going to say
Yeah.
is about the chicken and the egg
Yeah.
is so what happens a lot of times when there is the buildup of the fluid, whether it's prostate cancer or if it's just the benign prostate hyperfluid,
Yeah.
is that they do a surgery called the TERP surgery where they go in and laser out around the ureter tube, and it's cutting around the prostate, which they can nick nerves, they can, it can cause erectile dysfunction
Right.
that way. And then
That's what this doctor said. That's how he's advocating.
Yeah.
If you do have buildup of some sort of
There's
blockage,
a risk factor involved.
there's a
in
risk
the surgery.
factor in doing surgery. Yeah,
right
A couple.
where getting back to what we were talking about at the beginning is that doctors used to go in and massage the prostate to release that fluid. It's now they give pills, or it's easier to do a surgery. It's less lawsuits, less uncomfortableness, whatever it is.
Now,
Yeah.
I got to stop you because maybe this is too uncomfortable, too vivid. But so the doctor would massage this. What would happen? Would you ejaculate? Would something?
Yes.
So the doctor would, as part of a visit, I've never once had a doctor say, "Here, I'd call the medical practitioner immediately if he was trying to ejaculate me in a visit here."
Right, but this was
I'd be shocked, and I'd be immediately calling some supervisory board if he tried to touch me in that way.
well. They do the check that way, correct?
They
Well, he wouldn't
gently-
know because
Because
he
he
hasn't
doesn't go
been in.
in.
Right.
very often.
So
but,
yes, they
Yes.
do a finger check
Yep.
to check the prostate to see the size.
but I've never had a doctor put a finger up.
Oh,
my
come on!
behind
How many
or
how many
something. I don't
times have
think-
you
maybe.
watched the movie Fletch?
And they say cough and
Yeah, that's
and,
true.
And,
Yeah,
and,
right.
and when Fletch basically is bent over and he says, "Hey,
That's true.
hey, doc, we using the whole fist back there?" Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
you're
right.
right. Okay, so it is something that is not unheard of in our society. But it's interesting is that liability factor, that discomfort, which if you really take some time to understand the reason behind it, and you actually are initiating it for your health, you could argue that you will equate your health and well-being and safety maybe beyond your discomfort level. Because like I said, I made a similar, sort of example of women that go in on a yearly basis to do a mammogram. And we don't have, as guys, we don't even think twice. Well, yeah, that's good for their health.
Right, yeah.
But we don't think about things the same way for our own well-being.
So we've gone past that. We recognize men don't pay the same attention that women do, and we should, and we have a month to focus on it, and you're here talking about it. But I'm curious, so your thesis is, and I don't discount it, I'm just trying to understand it here, is that you need to release this fluid through some sort of ejaculation process, either during a sexual act or on your own to massage it and release this fluid. And I'm wondering, tell me if this is just a mistaken Midwestern view on my part. Do men, as they get older, have less sex? One, because their testosterone level drops and their desire drops. Two, because they're older. Like everybody in their older, they feel less comfortable getting naked or having people see themselves. Or three, more and more people are alone. There's a high percentage of people that through death and divorce. We've done lots of studies. We had one on the show a while ago here that talked about a high number of people are going to die alone in this country here because they're going to live longer and they're going to outlive their spouses, or they're going to get divorced and they're not going to get remarried.
I really don't want to turn this particular show into an aging focus, because that's not really what we're talking about.
Okay, all I'm trying to get at is, though, are people as they get older having less sex?
I don't think they are, actually. Because of Viagra, people are having sex.
Exactly.
And the highest new rates of STDs and STIs are in the senior communities.
Yes.
So
yeah, exactly.
It's not necessarily less sex. It's just...
Well, and you have hormone therapy for women. You have testosterone, replenishment for men. You could argue, Paul, that the fact that people are divorced or people are single, may have now a higher rate where people are getting back into that active part of their lives. So when we have to be very careful when we make these generalizations, because what I'm hearing from you is a justification of why it's got nothing to do with prostate. We shouldn't worry about that, because guess what? This is just normal. And what I'm saying is, and what we've tried to say on the show, is just getting older does not mean that you have to fit in a particular visual of what getting older is. I'll share a personal situation. My father, who has front lobe dementia that I mentioned and talked about in July,
right,
at the age of 84 is doing 2 days of training for 1 hour each day with a personal trainer. He cannot drive. I have to take him. But if you want to talk about something that flies in the face of what we call aging, is why would an 84-year-old man that has never exercised on a regular basis in his life basically all of a sudden be okay with being taken to the gym to do 1 hour training? And I physically can see, not that he's running a marathon, but I can physically see where he's getting up and in and out of the car with the use of his core, because he is now committing to doing this twice a week.
Right. Good for him.
Right. So my point is, it is not about aging. And Tiffany, you're the authority on this, but even when we had you on the show last time, we touched on this a little bit. There is no justification to say, oh, I'm older, so therefore I'm not having sex.
Right.
Your health is your health, period.
And so by having prostate massage by your partner or on your own is, one, very healthy for you, but also it's a 10 times stronger orgasm for men. So it's beneficial. It's another way that men can have an orgasm. It's not always, a prostate orgasm is not always ejaculatory. So men who have had any erectile dysfunction and still have a prostate, it's a way for them to still experience orgasms and multiple orgasms.
We talk about erectile dysfunction in this country like it's candy. I mean, there's ads on TV every day. Huge. It's a big industry. It's a big moneymaker. But there's never any discussion about the connectivity between erectile dysfunction. It's like, just take these pills, you'll be fine. Right? But then we also We also talk, about people who are survivors of prostate cancer, and we've talked about this when you were on the show last time. There's a recovery situation. There's a difficulty with having sex. There's, the effects of radiation and chemotherapy.
Yeah, all
that
those,
all factors in, because all of it is affecting your system.
Yes.
So I want to be a fly in the room, though, when Rod Gantos goes and talks to his 84-year-old dad and said, should you be massaging and draining the fluid in your prostate here?
Well, if I do, he will forget about it about the next half an hour. But that being said, if I was younger and knew what I know today, I would have probably not avoided that topic of conversation. More importantly, Paul, though, before you put it on somebody else, more importantly, what am I going to do with that piece of information? Okay, and Tiffany mentioned something about where it could be like something where it's a prostate massage with your partner, for example, right? Well, if you remember, there was sort of discussion at one point. We didn't do this, and now we basically have an intimacy that happens when men also are aware to, if they are in an intimate situation with their partner, and if they notice that something is a lump or something is hardened on a breast, that is part of your duty, is to be part of that for the health of your partner. So it's very similar. I mean, this is not like, untraveled ground. It's just that we've never traveled it for guys.
Right.
So is this, I'm going to go out and knock on the doors up and down the hallway here and get all the guys in this. I think men are more aware than they used to be, my dad's era, in your dad's era, of the need to pay attention to health. We're all aware now of prostate. Whether we deal with it or not is another issue. I don't know that most people are having a discussion that releasing this fluid is important to. It may be. It certainly doesn't sound illogical to me.
Look,
but I've never heard anybody say
none
that.
of us. None of us.
No doctors took me aside and said, "Hey, buddy, here's what you should be doing."
Okay, none of us in this room that are sitting here are medical practitioners. So please, let's do this. I want you to give the number out so that if anybody wants to call and add their knowledge base to this, to do so. I also want to basically then take a very quick break and then come back.
Yes,
and we want to get a caller on the phone. And I want to really transition this conversation to where the connectivity between the sexual aspect of this.
Right.
And,
I'm fascinated by that.
Okay, so let's do that. What's the number that people can call, Paul?
949-330-7761. 949-330-7761. Operator standing by.
Yeah, they may be uncomfortable, but they're standing by to take your call, right? And then we're gonna take a break really quick, and when we come back, who are we gonna have on the call?
We're going to have Ruby Ryder, who is the foremost female expert on pegging, which is female on male strap-on sex, which is all about the prostate.
Never heard of such.
So, with that being said,
wow,
come on back. We're gonna take a break.
Okay, hang on. You got me shook up here now.
Imagine buying a newspaper and discovering that the news you're reading is 6 months old. There isn't much that stays the same for 6 months, and the same thing goes for background checks. In a time when so much outdated information is being passed around, it's good to know that People G2 offers something different. At People G2, we provide today's intelligence, not yesterday's news. Our value-added approach offers you a fully FCRA-compliant solution that includes up-to-the-minute information. By combining industry-leading technology with old-school human investigation, People G2 is able to give you information that is accurate right now, delivered quickly through our online system, or integrated with your HR system. So ask yourself, are you comfortable working with old news, or are you ready for a different kind of background check company? Visit peopleg2.com or call 800-630-2880. That's 800-630-2880 or peopleg2.com.
Just when I didn't think it could get any wilder here.
Well, I was keeping that behind because I had an evil plan.
You did. You suckered me into this.
I suckered you into this conversation on purpose.
First, it's Movember. Okay, that's a positive thing. Men's health, and we talk about men don't pay enough attention to their health, me included, and we don't deal with these issues. And then we evolved into prostate and how releasing the gland through sex or masturbation
he was listening.
Is good for you. And now we're going to go to what?
Okay, but we're going to go to pegging.
Yes.
Okay, and Paul, here's the thing, though. In all full disclosure, I warned you when we first got on the air, right? And I told you this might be outside your wheelhouse.
Wow.
But you, being Paul Roberts, was dragged into the conversation
Infinitely
and could not
curious.
stay quiet. Right? So here we are, taking it to the next frontier. Okay? So, again, for those who are joining us, Tiffany Yelverton is with me at Entice Me and Sexy Survivors. And she's been on the show before, and today we're talking about the connection between sex and prostate cancer, or prostate, and
Prostate health,
and the importance of prostate health. And it's Movember, it's November, so it's men health awareness. It's not just about prostate; it's about just mental health and everything else, and how guys basically need to just basically start talking about their health instead of just not talking about their health.
And start draining
starting
the
with
fluid.
Paul Roberts over there.
Start draining the
And
fluid.
so not to peg you for the you know, but you know, I do, and I will say this, but a lot of people tell me, you know, Paul needs to just stop talking on your show. He does too much talking, and I will tell you, and I'll tell the listeners like what I usually tell people. Mr. Paul Roberts is the poster child for baby boomers.
Yes, I am.
He is basically our lab rat, basically, in this laboratory that we call the Raad Life.
Who's willing to admit it?
And we will practice and experiment on him all day long, so like we are doing today. So, Tiffany, who is the person that we are kind of have join us now?
We have Ruby Ryder. She is the podcast expert and founder of Pegging 101 and Pegging Paradise. She is wildly popular. And her podcast.
I like how you said wildly.
Wildly.
She is. She's also one of my Entice Me Sexonistas, and she is the foremost female expert on pegging.
Welcome to the show, Ruby.
Hello. Wonderful to be here.
Tell us what pegging is and how you came to know so much about it.
Pegging is when, well, the word was devised by Dan Savage had a show, and there was an observation made that there was no word to differentiate between heterosexual strap-on sex, so to speak, and lesbian strap-on sex. So the word pegging was chosen, and as Dan does, he kind of creates words sometimes. So that has taken a hold, and that has come to mean when a woman has a strap-on and penetrates a man anally. That's what that means.
So
Go ahead.
So Ruby, just to be clear for those who are listening, it is strap-on sex that's heterosexual, where the woman basically puts on a strap-on and penetrates the man anally.
Correct.
Okay, and that is known as pegging, and so that was needed as a term in order to differentiate it from other forms of strap-on sex.
Mostly from lesbian strap-on sex.
Okay, right, got it.
I mean, the gender binary is breaking down a bit, so people who have prostate sometimes identify as female, and I mean, you get the drift.
Got it, yes.
And do women, in lesbian sex, where one woman assumes the role of the male and straps on a device, is that still called pegging? Or do they have a different term for it?
It is not, and actually she's not assuming the role of a male, she's just using a sex toy, is how I like to look at it.
I know, well, I'm a good Midwesterner, so I have to think these in gender roles here. I was raised to thinking.
I love the fact that though we are on a topic of this, and you had to go towards clarifying the lesbian sex side of things.
Well, just so I know.
All right. Okay. Well, please enlighten us, Ruby. I mean, is this something that is come into its own recently? Is this something that has been going on? Just educate us a little bit about this.
This is something that's been going on for a while, but it's definitely coming into its own so much more recently and becoming way more popular. There are articles written about it more and more in levels of journalism and things and magazines and online things that you never used to see before. And sales have reflected this as well. Many times sales of strap-on things, and this is anecdotally, but people call in and you know that it's not a lesbian buying something, you know it's a heterosexual couple, but strap-on sales have increased like 200% over the past few years.
Amazing.
What do you how do you account for that? Is it just more of an openness? Is
experimentation?
How do you account for that?
Well, I would like to think that I'm a part of it.
A driving force behind it. Right, yeah.
And I know. Go ahead, Ruby.
I'm working very hard to try and normalize and lessen the taboo as well as correct the myths and misconceptions around pegging.
So can we at least establish that there has been a taboo to talk about this, or to consider whether people wanted to or not? This isn't something most people... my dad never sat down and discussed this with me when he was explaining the birds and the bees. And my friends and I, when we talked about, when we were younger, have our sexual exploits, I never once heard any of them suggest this or talk about this. So is this... Whether they did or not, I'm not saying people didn't do it then, but certainly there was a taboo to talking about it or discussing. I did not know it had a term even.
I need you to sit back.
I know. I
know. But it really, I think at this point, I want to really get down to the fact that this is getting more exposure. This is getting written up.
Right.
I'm assuming that the areas in which it's getting written up, Ruby, and correct me if I'm wrong, are not just purely from the pleasure side of things or maybe the experimental side of things, but there's a whole range of people that are covering it for a myriad of reasons. I mean, it sounds to me like it's something that's taking on a different awareness, maybe.
Well, there's a couple of different areas that we could talk about here. One would be when you think about typical sex, PIV, meaning penis and vagina.
Yeah.
There is sort of gender stereotypes that are there for a reason, where the man is the active one, he's giving, he's providing the pleasure, the woman is typically the more passive one receiving. What pegging enables you to do is to flip that role reversal and experience sex from the opposite side of the bed, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And there's tremendous value in this. It's absolutely incredible.
And share some of those with us, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. So, for example, most women have no clue what it really takes to do intercourse with someone. It takes balance and grace and multitasking and endurance. It's an athletic event. So when they do this strap-on thing, and they have the anal intercourse, and they do this with their partner, they have so much more appreciation for their partner and understanding of their usual role.
I've claimed it to be a workout and been told otherwise, and so thank you for qualifying what I've been saying.
The sex is a workout.
I know. No, but you raise a very interesting point because just like anything else, if we are used to and accustomed to seeing things through a certain filter or from a certain vantage point, we don't necessarily have the ability to see it from another. And so you're right. Yeah, I never really thought about it that way, but absolutely.
Can I just throw in one quick observation? This isn't, you'll find this, I think, to everybody's interest. I went to an virtual reality conference a few years ago, and I was asked to moderate a panel, and they stuck me on the porn panel. And obviously there's a huge interest in virtual reality and different types of porn applications, and they had porn stars there and porn developers and stuff. I said, so what is the biggest potential? Just that you can visualize this better, it's not an image you're looking at, it's a 3D person that comes like this. Oh no, you can role reverse, just what you're talking about. The man can be the woman can be the man. In a virtual reality, you can assume any role that you want to play here. And they then continue to talk about the power of AI to get you into an experience you couldn't otherwise experience, and to the empathy that develops for seeing the world through somebody else's eyes. To be the man, to be the woman. Right.
Ruby, I just want to take a minute here and just acknowledge you and Tiffany, because I think what both of you are very much involved in, and I totally very much appreciate this, is that you are, and you mentioned that the demystification and the sort of correcting the misinformation, and there's so much of that we have grown up with, that it's nice to actually be able to talk about these things in a more very factual way, a very open way, like we are today.
Absolutely. I mean, so quickly on the flip side of that, what men learn that foreplay is really important. And men learn that being penetrated is kind of an intense thing, and maybe penetration isn't there for every night,
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, so that is like switching roles and experiencing that. But I teach webinars about this all the time. And one of the big things that ties in with what you're talking here today about is prostate health.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I have people who write me who start doing this pegging thing, and guys are talking about how all of a sudden they feel like they're 20 years younger in terms of how their penis operates, their ability to get hard, their ability to stay hard and last longer.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much health benefits involved. And I was listening to the show earlier before you got me on, and when doctors do that prostate massage, it's not an ejaculation in terms of what you would normally think. It's more like draining it. And most of the time it is absolutely not that pleasurable. So just imagine if you could do something with a toy or with pegging or with your partner that feels delightfully wonderful and can increase your orgasms, the strength of them, and is healthy, so you don't have to go to the doctor and do that. That's kind of my
let me just maybe ask and maybe focus for a second here. It's also very important to know how to do it properly, because there is a certain, this is a very intimate situation. It's sensitive parts of your anatomy in both cases, and I just finished saying that I had never really thought about it from the position of the woman basically having a vantage point which she normally does not have, but also the guy. I mean, you're absolutely right. How would you really know? And all of a sudden, sort of that build-up and that connectivity and the foreplay and the importance of all of that as part of the exchange between two human beings, that gives you a different vantage point to appreciate that you may not have a tendency to do under normal circumstances.
So can I ask a question, though? So I just want to clarify. So you're saying that if a man is penetrated anally, that because of the position of the prostate, that's more likely to release that, or it releases in different. You said a couple of things about how the health benefit of doing that and how it changes the functioning in the man's penis.
Do you want Ruby to tell you how to do it properly?
No, I'm trying to picture. I really don't quite get that. You made some statements, and I'm just trying to understand it. So if a man is penetrated, because the prostate is located by the anus, and therefore it's easier.
Exactly. So if you can stimulate the prostate a number of different ways. You can do a digital stimulation, which is what the doctor does
with your finger. Yeah,
right. When they go in there, right? You do it with the different toys. You can do it with a strap-on as well. So your prostate is so close to the wall of the rectal canal.
We're holding up an aid here of what one might look like. Okay.
Tiffany gave me something to play with, so I am Ruby. So.
And so
anything that goes in and out of your anus, which is what happens when you do strap-on, it will stimulate your prostate. And there's a whole variety of different toys that have different curves and different ridges on them and things that can help you target the prostate better, depending on how sensitive of a prostate you have. But basically, stimulation of the prostate in any manner, carefully and done, with all the safety rules in place, which is what I teach in my webinar, you end up having such a great benefit for the prostate health itself, because if you're talking about the fluid needing to go through there, and I mean, a urologist told me the very best thing you can do is to ejaculate every single day. The very best thing for your prostate.
I had a friend of mine once who's now deceased, but he was a very good childhood friend, and he in one weak moment after a few drinks, we started talking about, I don't know, sex or other sorts of things and partners we'd had or whatever, and he admitted to me, he said, I do this every single day. And I looked at him like he was nuts. This was just a normal, Irish Catholic boy like me, and I said, you go and masturbate every single day? He said, yeah, I just feel better when I do it.
Well, I question the normal when it's associated with Irish Catholic.
Well,
that's a different story.
That's right. We're an abnormal breed.
Ruby,
anyway.
you mentioned a couple of times the webinars, and so I don't want to lose the opportunity here while we have you on the air to have you share where people can find out more about you, and how Tiffany even said something about podcast. So would you share some of your contact information and how people can find out more about you and what you offer?
Absolutely. So I have two websites. One is called peggingparadise.com, and the other is called pegging101.com.
Okay.
the difference between them, and I don't want to make anyone even more uncomfortable, is that peggingparadise.com includes some BDSM elements, because I am also into BDSM.
And just so people don't know, that's what are those letters? Bondage. I forgot the other letters. BDSM is
bondage, discipline, sadism, and masochism.
Okay.
It's the kinky people, basically.
Right. Okay.
So there's an element of that in there. If that's not something you're into, and you just want to learn about pegging, go to pegging101.com, because that has all the informational articles with no kink attached. I also do a podcast. It's called Ruby Ryder's Pegging Paradise, and that's available anywhere your favorite downloader app, iTunes and everything. I'm on number 250.
Wow.
How long have you been doing? How long have you been doing the podcast, Ruby?
The podcast is about 8 years, and I had the website about 10 years.
Wow.
And I'm surprised Rod didn't ask the question he usually asks of all the guests. What drew you to this subject matter? How did you become an expert in this area here? Not something most of us even are aware of, yet you found it and are pioneering this.
Well, when I became a sexual being, did not have sex yet, just was masturbating, was aware of my sexuality. I term it sort of anally obsessed. I loved it. I just, not necessarily receiving it, but reading about it, stories about it. That was my favorite fantasy material.
Mm-hmm.
So, like many people do that don't fit in the typical box of sexuality that society dictates to us,
Yeah.
I labeled it bad and weird and different for decades. And then I turned 50 and thought, if not now, when? And that started me off, and I jumped in with both feet. And I have been here ever since, and I found more than I ever thought I would. Oh, my gosh.
So talk about some of the people that you help or work with. Are they people who were like you, suppressing an interest in something, or had been taught that this was not something you should think about or delve into, or just other people that are looking for something different, something unique, or some help? What draws people to this?
You?
Yeah.
There's a variety of reasons, but by far the majority would be men who have discovered that there is pleasure to be had through prostate stimulation, and they all of a sudden realize that pegging is something they want to experience. So they're scared to tell their partners about it. They're scared about what the fact that they really enjoy anal stimulation says about them, because they fall into all the myths and misconceptions about this must mean I'm gay. Their partners, when asked about it, think that it's going to turn them gay. I mean, if it was going to turn them gay, then a lesbian strapping on a strap-on and doing her partner would be turning her straight. I mean,
Good point. Good point. Yeah, I'm just curious. I think we live in a more sexually liberated society than I certainly grew up as a child.
Are you having a problem with your mic?
Oh, my mic's falling down.
You can't get your mic up? Okay.
So, I'm trying not to go to
He literally can't get his mic up, Ruby. I'm not kidding you.
What's the show on HBO where they talk about different sexual, different sex practices? There's a show. It was on for years on HBO. And
Real sex.
Real sex.
Real
Yeah,
sex.
Real
Yes.
sex.
They've had a couple of shows. Ruby, let me ask you something. Just from your own personal experience, because you provide an opportunity to talk to get the insight from somebody who actually felt oppressed, or by what society basically deemed normal, and then basically at some point basically stopped worrying about that and sought your own journey. Other than the actual experiences and so forth, just on a liberating side of things, sort of a personal growth side of things, what would you say when you made that transition, and looking back at it now, what has been like a couple of the things that are most valuable? And then if I may, while we still have you on the air, share with us some of those steps or some of those particular things that come with Pegging 101. I think it would be a good thing to share with people.
Okay, well, the transition between suppressing all that and finally stepping into it, actually I credit that to Dan Savage, of all people, because he was really encouraging someone to pursue their kinks and to delve into them and to embrace them. I mean, that's a much better word.
Yeah.
And so age was a factor. You know, you hit that 50 mark and go, how much time do I have left? What do I want to do? What do I not want to miss?
Yeah.
So I dove into that, and goodness, I am living so much more authentically now. Goodness. It's just a big sigh of relief, and not just personally, but I am able to help so many people. When men encounter this, and when they want it and crave it, it comes with so much conflict inside themselves sometimes. Because, you know, but more than anything, men are told by society never to appear feminine or gay. Well, you know, getting penetrated anally kind of falls into that category, and it can be very scary for them. It's like, what does this say about me? They question their sexual identification. There's all kinds of things that happen. But the rewards of helping people through this in terms of discovering it, dispelling myths and misconceptions, and guiding them through doing it in a way that is safe and pleasurable is an astonishing thing in terms of, it's so satisfying for me because I help so many people.
Yeah.
They talk about how much closer they are as partners together, how much there's a depth of intimacy that's amazing.
Well, isn't it fascinating how authenticity and honesty actually builds intimacy, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah. I mean, that's and I kind of I wasn't sure where you're going to go with this, but I'm glad that I asked the question, because I think, again, you know, we can be jovial about this, we can talk about it and kind of tongue in cheek it and all this stuff, but honesty and the authenticity factor and living an authentic and honest life, I mean, the reward of that, in your case, like for yourself first and foremost, then put you in a situation where you now are able to share and help others. And really, that is a sort of a caregiver component almost of what is now your truth, is something that I wanted to make sure came out, because it is underneath all of that other stuff we're talking about, there's too many people out there that are not living life like that.
You are so right. And, you know, not only have I experienced how amazing it is to actually embrace exactly who I am sexually, despite what society tells me, I really got to give Tiffany a lot of credit, because that's exactly what she does.
Yeah.
Forget about what society tells you. You pursue the things that turn you on, the ways you want to get turned on.
Right.
And she guides people through that. It's just, we need more people like Tiffany and I in the world, because society dictates this little box you're supposed to be in, and it's so not true. It's a huge world of sexuality out there, and I think what's important for people to know is that it's all okay. I spend so much of my time reassuring, helping people let go of shame, and letting them know that, no, you're not alone. There's so many people out there who enjoy this as well.
We have a problem in society to basically embrace diversity, don't we?
Yeah.
We really would rather put everybody in a neat little box with a nice little label, be able to put it on the shelf. Not because it's a control thing, honestly. I believe it's because it's a discomfort thing. We really don't want to deal with complex personalities. We don't really want to deal with really the variety that diversity brings, because that really puts a pressure on us to have to be accepting, to allow for the fact that what may challenge my reality and my normalcy and what I deem to be appropriate may be not the same for somebody else, and just because it challenges it does not mean that it is wrong or right. So if I don't label it, then what do? I'm like I'm swimming in a pool without an edge defined, right? And for some of us that basically are out there, the fact that there is no defined edge actually is exciting.
It can be very exciting. I mean, there's situations where you're so locked into thinking things are supposed to be a certain way.
Right.
And then when it gets opened up, it can be very, very freeing, but it can also feel kind of threatening. I mean, I imagine that a bunch of your male listeners, when it's like you introduce me and, oh, what's pegging? It's this. They're squirming in their seats.
Oh, yeah, but you know what? You know that old adage that says, you know, life begins at the edge of your comfort zone?
I love that.
Right, and the truth is, in order to be authentic and honest, requires courage, but yet the reward of being courageous when it comes to that, and I like to think that with this show and the other shows that I basically am involved in, there are certain underlying tenets that I try to apply, and it is basically uncurated, courageous content that you can use. And we as a society don't even talk to one another from those positions anyway. In most cases, we have everything contrived. It's all packaged. It's all based on a bunch of to-do lists and items that are predefined before we engage. But to actually have an engagement where we sat down on the show, to be honest, you and I never had a conversation before you got on the air. And and to have the ability to have that exchange and share it openly and with honesty and courage. And accept the fact that, yes, you may be uncomfortable hearing this show and what we're talking about. We respect that you're uncomfortable, but we also gently leave you with that and not take it upon ourselves to basically make you comfortable either.
I like that.
I'm going to go back to the old hippie in me, which says, if it feels good, do it. That was what I grew up with. As much as I fell into being a conformist in other areas.
Yeah, so much for the hippie.
But that was the whole essence of the hippie movement. If it feels good, do it.
So other than saying it, did you actually do it, Paul? Did you do it?
In lots of ways it did, but no, probably not. I'm probably much more of a missionary positions, straightforward, non-adventuresome sexual being here.
I wonder what a couple of drinks in Paul would actually bring up. Don't you think, ladies?
He'd be doing all sorts of crazy stuff.
Ruby, would you take also, the other part of my question was, would you just, again, to bring it back to pegging for a minute, would you basically share some things for people who are basically interested? Obviously, they can go to your website.
And give us some sites as we wrap up here, yeah.
But right. I would I'm going to take a couple more minutes, Paul, because we don't get a chance. No, we don't get a chance to talk about this, and I want to give the mic back to the ladies here to round us out.
Okay.
But would you take a minute and actually share some of the particulars? Like, just so people that don't go over there and basically, I don't want to say kids don't do this at home. Like, give us some guidance.
Well, I think the very first thing to do is to educate yourself, because when I teach a webinar, and by the way, when you go to peggingparadise.com or pegging101.com, there's a link right there that you can click that will take you to a schedule of the upcoming webinars that I do, and they're all online, so anybody can access them.
Do you have any coming up?
I do, absolutely.
Okay.
But the first step is to educate yourself, because I go through so much that surrounds all of this. I go through the fears and misconceptions. I correct all of those. And then I talk about the safety rules. And then I talk about how to stay clean. And then I talk about equipment. So diving into it, just, hearing this radio show and then going and getting a strap on and trying it, I don't advise.
It's not advisable.
I really don't advise.
Yeah.
Just because there are safety rules, there are so many things that can make it so much more pleasant than unpleasant. In a whole number of ways that probably don't need.
Well, and the importance of that first experience being under those conditions and guidelines, because again, as we all know, if you do something and you find it unpleasant, the likelihood of you actually being open to even going down that path again is not likely. And so if you get yourself to the point of courage where you're going to basically explore something that you don't usually do, put yourself in the best position to actually get the best positive outcome out of it.
Yes, and what I tell people over and over and over again is go slow with this. And when I say go slow, I literally mean go slow in terms of doing foreplay and opening up the anal opening and all this kind of stuff. But I also so recommend going slow in terms of learning about it and starting to experiment, having that first anal play together, because I have an article about that, exactly how to do it. What you can do is build up this lovely anticipatory eroticism that takes you on a bit of a journey slowly, and you have all of these incredible firsts that you get to experience as a couple together, and then you finally get to the pegging. This is the way I would love to see people experience it, because there's so much to gain. There really is.
So it's almost it's like mental and intellectual foreplay.
Yes, well, and emotions come into it.
And emotions as well, yeah.
Back to Movember, which I'm a proud Movember supporter. I got a $1,000 goal. It's my second year doing it. I'm really happy about it. One of the things they talk about is the mental health and about men having been put in society's box as well. Not just sexuality, but just men, period, in terms of what's expected of them and all these things. Well, one of the things that men are often not allowed to show is vulnerability. How this ties in with pegging is that I am a firm believer that you cannot be anally penetrated without being vulnerable. vulnerability is something that men are not used to allowing.
Do I even dare say the word surrender too, Ruby?
Well, yes, there is a big part of the surrender, but you don't want to confuse. Vulnerability is allowing yourself to be open to someone to do something to you that has been consensually negotiated.
Oh, yeah.
Surrender is sort of, or submitting is more like allowing someone to do anything they want.
No, but that's why I use the word surrender, because I'm just even talking about it in terms of generality and the way of navigating your life. People have a problem with the word vulnerability and surrender, and yet I tell people that in fact is the ultimate empowerment. Like, if you can get to yourself to the point where you can actually understand that surrender is not giving up, surrender is not abdicating involvement. I don't even want to say control, because that's got its own baggage that comes with it. But surrender and vulnerability are really in a form, I know it's hard to get your mind around it for somebody who's not really kind of thinking about it more than linear, but surrender and vulnerability is one of the most empowered things I can think of basically somebody doing. And I think once you get the point of awareness where you experience that, it's all very clear. But it's the getting to that point that is where you need that guidance.
So can we...
You asked me about one of the reasons that men come to this, and the reason that couples come to it. One of the reasons that men come to it as well is just they've been having sex for a long time. They're always the ones that run the show. They're in control, and they just want to do something different.
They don't want the responsibility. I mean, come on.
They just want to lay back and receive. How lovely would that be?
But they have no idea how to do that, because we have basically put them into that role. It's very interesting. I never really thought about it in terms of roles, traditional roles, but you're absolutely right. We're going to have to wrap up, but again, I want to basically give you a chance to basically share those websites again. And same thing with Tiffany. Would you start us off, Ruby, please? Would you share those websites again, please?
Absolutely. Peggingparadise.com. It has the kink attached to it and all kinds of pegging information. Pegging101.com is just the pegging information articles only. And my website can be downloaded from any of your favorite podcast downloader apps. It's called Ruby Ryder's Pegging Paradise.
And thank you, Ruby, very much for coming on today. I think it was invaluable. So I appreciate you sharing very much.
Thank you.
And then, Tiffany, would you also basically share your information?
Yes, you can find me at enticeme.com and sexysurvivors.org.
I want to thank you ladies both for coming on. I've always been a proponent that women know better, and you just proved it again today. So I really appreciate it. No, I think also, you raised a lot of points I did not know we were going to cover. I mean, the importance of foreplay, the importance of basically educating yourself, the role reversals, right. Not being put in, allowing yourself the latitude and the freedom to accept the fact that you have, certain bents and certain directions and certain things that basically you derive pleasure from that maybe are not the same as your immediate surrounding and your support group, whatever, but that it's okay. Embrace that. There's a freedom and that comes with that, and an openness that comes with that will enhance your life in everything else through honesty and authenticity.
And you certainly hit a theme that Rad likes to hit over and over again, which is he gets so angry when I try and put people in a box here. He hates any sort of boxes or categories or anything. Everybody's unique. Everybody has their own. He hates any sort of categories or boxes.
You know what makes it the most uncomfortable for people to basically allow for that reality? Because now you are responsible for accepting the diversity and complexity. And you don't want to do that. Your life, your timeline, your busy lifestyle basically does not allow you to take the time to have acceptance and coexistence with all and everything around you. And heck, it means you are not in control. Oh my God, you're not in control. You have to surrender. Vulnerability, here we go, full circle. So you might as well just do it, So I appreciate everybody for being on the show. Thank you so much for making this another very enjoyable show for me. I started off coughing. Now I'm feeling very energized. So, there's a cure for the cold as well involved in this. Thank you very much, Ruby. I look forward to meeting you in person at some point. Tiffany, thank you so much for being on the show.
My pleasure.
And no, it was our pleasure actually today. So thank you both. and we look forward to having everybody join us again next week for another episode of the Raad Life. Meanwhile, guys, grow your beards, support Movember. There's a lot of organizations out there, Prostate Cancer Foundation, Movember.org. Give this month, raise awareness, take this information, educate yourself. You're always stronger for knowing more.
You have been listening to the Raad Life Radio Show with your host
could've
and
gone on
age
for
explorer,
hours. We already
Rod
went over a
Gantos.
half hour.
Brought to you on the one and
You were gonna
only
be like-
OCTalkRadio.net.
okay.
Join us again next week as
You
we
could've gone
continue
on
our
for
journey of
hours
discovery
about
into life's challenges, opportunities, options, and all the latest and greatest
Well, I
things
just
that
wanna
come
really-
with getting older.
I just have to Welcome once again to another episode of OC Spotlight, the one show taking a look at the most incredible people doing the most amazing things right here in our own backyard. And this week, well, maybe we topped them all this time here. I don't know. I say that every week, but this one's pretty big. We have my friend Mark Timmig in here from Esports Entertainment, also known as Esports Network.
Hey, Paul. Thanks for bringing me in the studio. It's always great to be here with you. We've got an incredible subject to talk about today.
Esports. This is just the topic of the day here. I was telling somebody just the other day, because full disclosure, they're now syndicated on our station as well, so that we run these Esports Minute, as you've been hearing throughout the day, and prompting people to ask me, show hosts, show guests, and show listeners, what the heck is esports? And I'm like, have you been living under a rock? This thing is huge. Tell us what it is.
Yeah, that's a great comment, Paul, because not everybody is a gamer. And frankly, if you're 45 and older, you may not be a gamer, but you
why are you looking at me over your that way?
Well, but you absolutely know someone, whether it's a son, a daughter, a niece, a nephew, a grandchild.
My son-in-law. Yeah.
Everybody knows somebody who is really excited about playing some type of online gaming, whether it's on their mobile phone or on their computer or on a workstation or
anywhere
console. Yeah. There are all different ways in which people can engage with online gaming, and it is a global phenomena. This is not something just in our neighborhood or our country. This is, matter of fact, in China, there are more esports gamers, if you will, than there is population in the entire United States.
But how do you take the leap from people playing themselves, participating in a game, to watching others play the game?
Well, that's a great question as well. People really enjoy. A good example is if you like to watch baseball, you might also like to play baseball.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think what people find
that's me in basketball. I was never very good at playing, but I sure love watching it, and it makes me appreciate it that much more because I know how difficult what they're doing is.
Yeah, it all looks easy from the stand, doesn't it?
Right.
Those 3-point shots. Yeah, I can make that.
Yeah.
So I think you make an excellent point. People watch because both they're interested in the sport, but they also watch to get the tips and the tricks and how do these people actually do what they do.
Yeah.
And whether we can perform at the same level or not, we're interested in learning those things. And I think,
and we're amazed by those that can.
Absolutely. Whether it's golf or football or basketball, any sport, including online sports. And I think But people have trouble with that. I mentioned this too. Give me that quizzical look like, why would you watch somebody play a video game? And I say, why would you watch somebody shoot a basket? Why would you watch people hit a golf ball? And they kind of go, well, yeah, I guess. But that's something in the physical realm, and I guess this is something in the online realm. But to my kids, there's no difference. Yeah, I think, fantasy, if you will, and when we enter into a game, whether it's watching a game courtside or on television, we're also entering into that game and seeing in our own imagination how we might be connected to that.
We're
exactly.
there. I feel it. I'm shooting what he's shooting. I'm doing what he's doing or she's doing.
Absolutely the case. And so one of the things that is really incredible about online gaming is there's a game for everyone. They're all different types of games that can be played. They're nature games, they're shooting games, they're mystery games and fantasy games and World of Warcraft and League of Legends and all of these things.
Because that was going to be my next question here, is have they decided on a set number of games? Is this only for World of Warcraft players? And I bring that one up very specifically because, folks, if you aren't aware of it, World of Warcraft, which is what, Blizzard here?
Yes.
Is, I believe, the largest online game in the world, or one of them. I don't know how many gazillion people participate in this game. You join in and play online with however many players are there online. And they've been doing it for a while. I think they take, is it Angel Stadium or one of those places, and they literally have these giant rallies or get-togethers or demonstrations where people play games. Maybe it's even a competition. I don't know.
Absolutely. Well, there's League of Legends, which is now extremely popular, and there are many other variations of games that are coming out that people enjoy watching and participating. And yes, there are certain tournaments that can fill up entire venues, a stadium, and so on.
A stadium of people watching on big screens people play a video game.
Yeah, and it's really well spoken about in certain reviews that have been done, where you're playing with people that you are watching with people that you've built a community with. And one of the things that's quite interesting is, of course, the U.S. military is actually getting involved in providing gaming centers in a number of their bases, both domestically and internationally.
Interesting.
Because now you can have a young man or woman who joins the service, and maybe they're in Germany, and they can go online and play with their friends, their family members, other people, and stay connected. And they can make new relationships and meet new people. And this is a well-known reason why people do enjoy it. It is also very much about community.
And I hate to say it, but warfare of the future is going to look more like a video game to people of my era than my father's in the trenches World War II kind of fighting. For example, they fly drones, I believe, out of North Dakota and shoot at bad guys over in the Middle East.
Yeah, well, let's hope that there are fewer human beings involved in some of this. And I think, one of the things I want to take a brief minute and talk about is there are a lot of parents who are very concerned about their children playing games.
I would think so. Does it create more violence, or is it too absorbing or too sedentary and all these things?
Yeah, and I want to speak to some of those, because when my kids were growing up and they got involved in gaming, I had some of those same concerns as a parent, and I decided to, of course, get more interested and involved in exactly what my kids were doing, so that I could understand, is this friend or foe, and I want to really try to attack some of the myths that, as parents, I had and my wife had and others have had and still do.
That many of we're all of a certain generation here, and we look at this askance. We're not sure what it is, like you said, friend or foe.
Yeah, exactly. And I think one of the things that's really important to think about, for example, let me take one of the very common myths where people will say, well, kids are just sitting there in front of the screen for hours, eating junk food and drinking soft drinks, and getting fat and not being outside and looking up at the clouds and imagining the wilderness and so on. And my first question to parents, meaning no disrespect, but who buys the food in your home? Your children or you?
Yeah. Wow.
And if you're an adult and you're a parent, I'm a parent, I have a responsibility to buy the right food I want my children to eat. So no, my kids cannot get potato chips and ho-hos and soft drinks from my cabinets, because we don't buy that food.
So one doesn't automatically go with the other. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I think blaming poor eating habits or dietary habits or obesity on gaming is absolutely misdirected.
But they are sedentary, and that was my parents' objection to I was the first TV generation that came about in the 50s here, and I spent a lot of time in front of that boob tube. And, a lot was written about what's that doing to my brain and what's that doing to my body here.
Right. But, when my kids were playing, they were snacking on grapes and apples and healthy food, because my wife was very concerned about what are our kids going to grow up eating. And we didn't want kids who were obese, growing up, whether they participated
diabetic
or not.
And obese.
Exactly. All of these situations. So gaming is not the
that's not the reason for diabetes.
Exactly. It's not the cause of it. The cause of it is how we live our lives, and as parents, what kind of example we lead with, and then what do we put in the cabinets for our children to have readily available.
And rightly or wrongly, like anything, like my parents eventually controlled the TV time. Any of this stuff can be abused. You can watch television 24 days. You can play games 24 hours days. You can lay on the couch 24 days. You can do anything you want to do. And you have to, it's part of a healthy, balanced lifestyle. But to also have this Luddite view that we can all go away and it's just, we're going to blink our eyes and it's going to disappear, is to ignore my grandson and all the others. My grandson's 5, and he loves video games, and we control how many and how often, but I can't control his enthusiasm for them, and I can't keep him out of that world.
Well, I will also relate gaming to something else. I spent a number of years in charter school education, and one of the cornerstones of what I had done in charter school education was to have built quite a number of at-risk dropout high schools that educated kids that the traditional system had decided were uneducatable.
Right, that's the strength of charter schools. Right?
And in our particular model, we threw out the traditional model of educating kids because it doesn't work with dropouts, and we brought in a computer-based, self-paced learning system, which was incredibly effective. In fact, I graduated over 8,000 students while I was involved alone with full state recognized diplomas, not GEDs. And
teaching to them the way that they want to relate to. Yeah.
Their level, their pace, they were in control, and we were there as educators to support them, not to stand in front of them and direct them. And I think when you empower young people who need to go at their own pace, and when they're dropout students, oftentimes they have other issues or personal problems, and maybe even alcohol or drug addictions, and they may go away for 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 days and then come back. In a normal classroom situation, you're done. You're out of it. But on a computer-based, you just log back on and you're back in.
Well, because that speaks to them. They are fluent in that language. I'm still a digital learner. They're a digital native. They live in these platforms naturally. And I'll give you an example again. My 5-year-old grandson. I've watched him develop, and he started obviously introduced to video games through his friends, through his family, through everything. And whether we wanted to or not, he just was drawn to these things and plays them as often as we'll let him play them. And so I can say, gee, it's killing his brain cells or whatever. It's also building his brain cells. And I'll give you an example why. The other day, we're walking along a trail behind our house, and he comes to a big sign, and he says, Grandpa, he says, why no dogs allowed here? And I look at him and I said, when did you learn to read? And he points at the sign. Of course, it's a symbol with the line through it. And I thought, where did he figure that out? Games. There's all sorts of things. I watched him the other day in a new game I bought him. And he immediately, the question was, how old are you? And he doesn't know what it says, but he's intuitive enough to figure it out. They're asking for my age here somewhere. And he sees a little dial, and he spins it, and it comes to the number 5, and he hits it. I go, how did you figure that? And he says, I just know this stuff. I'm amazed at what they figure out from these things.
Well, and let's talk a little bit more about this computer-based learning, because that's what games do.
It is, exactly.
And I'm going to give you a couple of points on that. One is that a lot of people recognize, and you may or may not be familiar with this term, but it's called STEM skills. And these are skills that are well respected in the education process.
Is this the science, technologies type of stuff that we're
talking about? Yes, it is.
Right.
And
education and what I forgot the E's for, but science, technology, something in math.
I tell you what, they're the fundamental principles of many a person learning engineering, and all kinds of different jobs that involve science and math and so on. And I want to demonstrate really in a game how they use and develop and have to excel at STEM skills. So when you look at the STEM skills, they include things like collaboration, cooperation, analytics, forecasting, and both really envisioning things, so imagination, and in terms of math and strategy, tactics, all of those things are very much a part of what is taught in a typical STEM curriculum. And
this isn't the games I grew up with, Pong or whatever here, where you're just bouncing a ball back and forth. This is pretty sophisticated stuff, even at entry level.
Absolutely. So when you're playing, and you mentioned World of Warcraft example, I mean, you're dealing with strategy and tactics, and you're communicating with your teammates, and you're identifying where you think you have the best odds of succeeding, and you're predicting things, and you're imagining things, and all of these things are all